Sri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki Jai, Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Sri Shri Gauranitai ki Jai, Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Let's continue our discussion on Narada Muni's glorifications of the Pandavas. This is verse 29. So Narada Muni, he continues the glorification of the Pandavas in Hastinapur. Here he says, we speak of Krishna's kindness, but even the punishments he metes out are worthy of praise. To this there have been many witnesses, including Kamsa, Kaliya, Putana, and in the more distant past, Bali and others. Last week we saw how the mercy which Krishna bestowed upon the different personalities during his appearance 5,000 years ago. And we saw Narada Muni, he glorifies how the mercy which Krishna gave to all the personalities, devotees and demons including. It's something which is unparalleled. To give you some context, if you think of each one of the demons which Krishna killed in his different incarnations, including Lord Ram. When Lord Ram kills Ravan, Kumbhakarna, they had to take birth again. If you take Hiranyaksha being killed by Lord Varaha, he had to take birth again. Hiranyakashipu by Lord Narsinghadev. Even after being killed by him, Hiranyakashipu has to take birth again. But if you look at all the list of the demons who were killed by Krishna, everyone got liberated. And Narada Muni says, Krishna, it's not only the demons who Krishna killed personally. There are some who Krishna killed indirectly also, empowering his dear servants, his dear devotees, like Arjuna. Through Arjuna, Krishna killed so many millions of soldiers in Kurukshetra. Srila Prabhupada says everyone in Kurukshetra war got liberated because they left their body in the presence of Krishna. Likewise, through Bhima, he killed Jarasandha, demons like Jarasandha, for example. Balaram himself, he arrests Jarasandha many times, but he let go of Jarasandha to tell the whole world about the prowess. Because Jarasandha, it's interesting, he was actually a devotee of Vishnu. When the Pandavas, they visit Jarasandha, they could see him worshipping Vishnu. Jarasandha's problem was, he couldn't understand the same Vishnu. The origin of Vishnu is Krishna and he is there. Even though personally he harbored enmity towards Krishna, because Krishna had killed Kamsa, who is his son-in-law, he was worshipping, he was renowned for his charity. It's mentioned he even protected Brahminical culture. So in many ways, he was good. Only problem is, he was against Krishna and the Pandavas. So Krishna ticks all the boxes, this one, problem. Okay, Krishna reciprocates with him by arranging for Bhima to kill him. Okay, so here Narada Muni says, all the different incarnations, avatars, be it Narasimha, you can come, sit down. Be it Narasimha, Varaha, even Lord Rama, whenever they killed any demons, they weren't liberated. But it's only Krishna who gave that special mercy. Be it either directly killing or by indirectly killing through his devotees. And some people, Krishna took directly to the spiritual world. Prabhupada says, some instances Krishna took the demons, he gave them Sayujya Mukti, but everyone got liberated. Like last week we were looking at Putana. Putana in her previous life was Bali Maharaj's sister, Ratnamala. When she sees Vamanadev, at that time, she has this desire in her heart. Vamanadev was looking very cute. I wish, if only I had a son like him, then I would feed him by my breast milk. But then later on, when Vamanadev, he takes away everything from Bali Maharaj, at that time she thinks, how cruel this boy is acting. If only he is my son, I would feed him with poison and kill him, like that. And then Krishna later on, he reciprocates with her motherly feelings as well as her intention to give poison, both. So Krishna, he reciprocates, and this level of mercy, not only did the demons who were killed by the other avatars didn't get liberated, nobody was even engaged in pure devotional service either. Whereas in Krishna's case, if you see, Krishna kills everyone, but then he puts them, reinstates them in spiritual world to engage in pure devotional service also. So Narada Muni says, in both the ways, first in liberating and second to reinstating all the demons back in their original state, only Krishna gave that mercy, nobody else. You never come across Narasimhadev after killing Hiranyakashipu telling, all right, welcome to spiritual world. Or Lord Ram killing Ravan and Kumbhakarna, even Lord Ram didn't award. But here Krishna, not only did he liberate all of them, but he puts them back in their original spiritual position with him. So Krishna's mercy is superior, he says. But something even greater than Krishna's mercy is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. He never sees anyone as devotee or demon. He makes everyone pure devotees. The only way how he kills is makes everyone by turning them to pure devotional service. So here in this verse, Narada Muni is saying, we speak of Krishna's kindness. What to speak of Krishna's kindness? He says, even the punishments he meted out are worthy of praise. Forget about Krishna killing or giving them mercy, because when we talk about mercy, generally mercy is related to people who are favorable to Krishna, or at least open for being favorable to Krishna. Like Kaliya, for example. Krishna didn't kill Kaliya, but because of Kaliya's association with his wives who were pure devotees of the Lord, Krishna spared Kaliya. Just escaped Kaliya. Rarely you will see Krishna is like, another instance you will see is Rukmi. Krishna doesn't kill him because Rukmi is his wife's brother. So Krishna says like, all right, I'll show you favor. So Krishna spares. But here if you see, even the punishments he metes out are worthy of praise. What kind of punishment? To this there have been many witnesses, including Kamsa. How is Krishna giving mercy to Kamsa? First of all, Kamsa is Krishna's uncle. Of course, Krishna kills him. But before killing, he makes Kamsa go through so much fear. Gopya Kamat Bhayad Kamsa. With fear, all he could think of 24/7 was Krishna's movement. Okay, imagine if somebody says there is a snake in your home. You will be inimical, obviously. Snake is, we always put the blame on the snake. Snake is very angry. Snake is very, inimical towards us. Are we friendly to the snake? We are also equally inimical. So we'll be looking at each and every movement. Where is it going? Like that. I remember I had a very close call with many times in my home. I always had the doubt, do the snakes climb on the wall? I had the realization when once I was going to open the door handle was moving. Why is it moving? Another time I went to my room. Sometimes you play out in the sun. When you come back, even after coming into the home, you will feel little dark, right? Because your people actually like reduces so small. When it comes, it takes time to adjust. So I came to my room and my belt was lying down. I thought like, how stupid of me. I put my belt down and it started to move. I didn't go to my room for 2 months after that. I closed it and I let my mom and dad do the harness with the snake, big ones. Here if you see Krishna, so anything which we are inimical, our mind will always be disturbed by that. Hiranyakashipu, if you think, whole world is bowing at his lotus feet. Narada Muni was also glorifying him to keep him at peace, so he will be little favorable to Vaishnavas. Not necessarily favorable, at least he won't do any damage to Vaishnavas. Even Narada Muni, demigods, they were at his beck and call. Indra, Chandra, all of them he imprisoned. He was dictating when the monsoon should arrive, when the sun should rise, everything he was dictating. This is how powerful Hiranyakashipu was. Everything was going good except his one single son. And his whole mind was just occupied just with one single son. He could have just ignored that and enjoyed the rest of the world. No, he just focused on just one. Normally that's what we also do. There'll be so many reasons for us to be happy, but we'll always pick at that one single devotee. Just like, in morning also, if you chant in the temple room, you will see. You will have so many Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis chanting, except that one Vaishnava or Vaishnavi chanting loud. And all you can hear is just them. And all your mind will be thinking is, why is the devotee chanting so loud? Happens, material world. Limited pleasure. Remember? Pain, pleasure. So it's like that. So for Hiranyakashipu, he was facing the problem like that. So here, Kamsa is also 24/7, all he could think of was Krishna. What is he doing? Who did he kill? Did they liberate? Did the dead body of Putana didn't really smell like Aguru? He was always thinking about that. What will happen to me? Is this how I'll also be cremated? He 24/7, this is all he was thinking. So then, Krishna comes and true to Kamsa's meditation, Krishna kills him, But after killing him, he respects him as his uncle and he performs royal funeral, it's given. He consoles Asti Prapti, Kamsa's wives also. Not only that, he puts Kamsa's own father in the throne, just like Lord Ram put Vibhishan back in the throne to rule Lanka. Here, Krishna puts Ugrasena, who is Kamsa's father, in throne. And then how did Kamsa die? When Kamsa was, if you read Krishna book, you can see Krishna pulls him from his dais, jumps, and Kamsa is lying down like this. Krishna jumps on his body. With his whole body resting on Kamsa's body, he then punches him. And last thing Kamsa saw was Krishna punching him. And Krishna is beautiful. Krishna will smile and then he was punching. This is how he died. So, all these situation created by Krishna was very favorable for Kamsa. Be it during his whole life when he was meditating on Krishna, even though it's not Anukulya Bhakti, it's Pratikul. So, during his whole life, Kamsa got purified, but then at the moment of death, after his death, now what did the soul go through? Soul went back to spiritual world. Prabhupada explains. So this is how even the punishment which Krishna gives to the demons who are inimical is also very unique, very, very special, very kind. Kaliya. Krishna, when he was dancing on the head of Kaliya, he never gave that level of intimate association to many of his demons who Krishna killed. Like for example, if you take Kalayavana, he comes with 22 Akshani soldiers. Whole Mahabharat war was fought by 18 Akshani only. He came with even much more bigger. So he wants to attack Dwaraka, and from Dwaraka side only Krishna comes out. Nobody else comes. And Krishna looks at him. He pulls out his flute, plays the flute. Doesn't play the flute actually. He walks actually very playfully. And then so Kalayavana thinks, okay, Krishna is going to come, talk to me. So he is waiting here, assembled all his army. Krishna walks, he ignores him and he just keeps walking. Can you imagine if somebody comes with so much might, your enemy just ignores you and walks, he got upset. Kalyavana gets very much upset and then he starts chasing after Krishna. And Krishna draws him to the cave of Muchukunda. And then Krishna just leaves his garment on Muchukunda, and Muchukunda, because of the boon he got, whoever wakes me up, imagine if your roommate has that boon, whoever wakes them up will be burnt to ashes. That's the boon Muchukunda had, and then because Kalyavana comes and kicks him, mistaking him to be Krishna, he gets burnt. So Krishna, he bestows mercy like that to different people. So Kaliya, if you see, Krishna gave a very special mercy by dancing on his head, letting all the dust of Vrindavan to be decorating the head of Kaliya. When you read the pastime of Krishna eating mud, there one Acharya writes, Krishna was eating mud because he wanted to personally taste the dust of Vrindavana. Because Vrindavan is so dear to Krishna. That special dust Krishna was giving to the head of Kaliya. And as he was dancing, Krishna was also leaving the symbol of Sudarshana on his head. And then Krishna pulverizes him. And then finally when Kaliya comes to senses, he offers prayers. Krishna accepts the prayers of glorification, the stuti which Kaliya sings, and then Krishna sends him to an island, a Ramanaka island. And not only that, Krishna purposefully left the imprint of Sudarshana on the head of Kaliya, telling Kaliya, don't worry, when you are in that island of Ramanaka, which Prabhupada says in modern days could be Fiji. So, Krishna, when he lets Kaliya go, at that time he says, when you do not need to fear about any danger from Garuda, because when Garuda from high up, if he sees your head, all the different heads, he will see the symbol of Sudarshana. Then Garuda will understand, okay, this guy also belongs to our group, So you don't need to fear anything. So this is the mercy which Krishna gave. And likewise to Chanur and Mushtik, the wrestlers who Krishna fought with. In Vrindavan, Krishna engages in mock fight with the Gopas. And many times, Krishna gets lost, in the wrestling match. So much so, Krishna would get beaten in the match so often that even Gopis would think, I can easily beat Krishna. There is one instance when Radharani comes to wrestle with Krishna and she defeats Krishna also. So you will see that mock fight, normally if you see a father would do with the son or a mother would do with the child. But here Krishna is doing that same old intimate kind of association which he gave to all the Gopas with whom he was mock fighting. He was doing the same act with Chanur and Mushtik. So Narada Muni says, this is even more pleasurable. Now if you really want to understand how pleasurable this is, you compare how Hiranyakashipu was ripped apart by Narasimhadev. Narasimhadev didn't mince anything. Everyone was scared. Even if Narasimhadev comes to embrace, everyone will run away. But here Krishna, with this beautiful smiling face, he comes. Krishna even exhibited perspiration, it's given, when he was fighting, the dust rising from the ground, and you can read knee to knee, shoulder to shoulder, arm to arm, locked, and then Krishna was fighting. Krishna and Balaram, they were fighting. The description is beautifully given in Bhagavatam. So like this, Krishna gave very special mercy, not only to his devotees, but even in the way how he punished each one of these different demons. So this is what Narada Muni is saying here. And likewise he says, even the sons of Manigriva and Nalakuvera, even though they were cursed by Narada Muni, only Krishna can make even a curse to be in one's favor. Sometimes when you I remember I used to regret sometimes. It took me 25 years to come to Krishna consciousness. I wish I got introduced to Krishna Bhakti at a much younger age. How many of you have that feeling sometimes? We feel like that. And then I was thinking, oh, I wasted such a precious life. It just gone. What happened? Nobody, sometimes you think 2 days you miss, or somehow you have certain tasks to do, you couldn't do, you become very conscious, right? Oh, I didn't do anything yesterday or day before. Like that, after coming to Krishna consciousness, I was thinking, what was I doing for 25 years? Nothing was coming to my mind. Everything was wasted. What did I do? It's such a big, 1/4 of your life is gone when the strength in your body is at its peak. It's lost. So one day I was praying to Gopinath and I had this understanding that after going through all of that, now we are safe. We have come to Krishna, correct? That means, okay, if I had to go through all of that, if I had to do all those mistakes to come to this point of taking shelter of Radha Gopinath, so be it. All glories to my past life. Only Krishna can make us feel like that. Because now we have attained Radha Gopinath, okay, if this is what I had to go through to come to this, then all good. Well done. Don't look back. Only Krishna can make us feel good. Prabhupada, he says, actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he writes in his book, biography, Servant of the Servant, in the introduction itself he writes, he says, I am going to be very candid as I am writing this book, and many of my disciples, they may think, if this is what my spiritual master, imagine if we are to write a book about our life before Krishna consciousness. I don't think any of us would dare to write, but Maharaj, when he writes, he says, I am a spiritual master now and I am writing. Some devotees, especially my disciples, after reading this, they may get bewildered. Hey, if this is what even my spiritual master actually went through, then they may even lose a bit of respect. Maharaj was very open. And he says, after reading this, I want everyone to understand, this is the background I came from, and look what Prabhupada did to me. Look what Krishna consciousness did to me. And then Maharaj quotes Srila Prabhupada giving an example that Prabhupada says, somebody may be a millionaire by birth, born with a silver spoon. In a certain family, they just inherit. Whereas others, they might have become a millionaire from the scratch, like a rags to riches story, so to speak. Okay, they have to build everything. But Prabhupada says millionaire is a millionaire. Once somebody is a millionaire, nobody is going to discount. Hey, you got it, for free just by being born in one family or the other one. It's not. Prabhupada says millionaire is a millionaire. Same way, Prabhupada says Nitya Siddha, Kripa Siddha and Sadhana Siddha. They are Siddha. Once you go back to spiritual world, Prabhupada says there is no difference. So what we need to see is when we come to Krishna consciousness, all that matters is we are here. That's all that matters. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a quote which Lord Shiva says to Mother Parvati, and he says, somebody is in Prema Bhakti level, which is the pinnacle of Bhakti. If somebody is in that level, to understand about their activities is very difficult. Because internally, they are always in the platform of relationship with Krishna, enjoying that mellow with Krishna. Externally, to understand them becomes very difficult. A classical example is in Bhagavatam, where Daksha Prajapati, he mistakes Lord Shiva not following social etiquette of standing up and greeting him. And because of that offense, or he thinks this is an offense, he starts to blaspheme Krishna, rather Shiva. And then it continues. As a result of that, you will see later on he loses his head. That's how it ends up, that pastime, one after the other, and finally he loses his head, and then finally he gets a goat head, like that. So Lord Shiva, he wants that we have to be very, very careful when it comes to dealing with the devotees, dealing with pure devotees especially. So here, in many cases, Krishna, so in Manigriva and Nalakuvera's case, externally it looks like it's a curse. Very rarely you will come across a curse being glorified. Another instance where curse is glorified is Gajendra. In previous life, he was a South Indian king, Indridumna, not the Puri king. He is a different king who gets cursed by Agastya. But then in the next life, he becomes an elephant. Normally, when somebody who is in a devotional platform, who is a king, who is in Vanaprastha stage, he is having his own bhajan kutir and he is performing his bhajan. His offense is when Agastya came with his servants, he didn't greet them because he was following Maunavrata. That was his offense. Agastya gets upset and he curses. But Prabhupada writes, actually Agastya, by cursing him, he did a big favor. Why? In one life itself, he'll go back to Godhead. Next life, that's what happened. Krishna comes, he chops off crocodile, touches Gajendra. Because of that touch, Gajendra gets liberated and Gajendra gets on board Garuda and he goes back to spiritual world. So after that pastime, that's what happens. If you read Bhagavatam, 8th canto. So curse of the devotees are also good, glorified. So here Narada Muni cursing Manigriva and Nalla Kuvera, they didn't get just ordinary liberation. Krishna specifically tells them, this is your last life, and he is bestowing upon them pure devotional service. And he says, okay, now go back to your kingdom, and then at the end of the life, you'll come back to me. So Krishna's mercy, if you see, is very unique. You will never see any other incarnation giving such level of kindness and mercy and liberation to, be it to devotees or be it even to demons. So this is what Narada Muni is saying here. Sri Parikshit said, while singing enthusiastically in this way, the sage instructed his own tongue, which was greedy to chant the glories of Lord Madhava. Oh, you are too busy talking about the greatness of our master. To stop the tongue, he then seized it with his teeth. He was biting his tongue. Hey, stop glorifying. Why is Narada Muni doing it this way? Because Narada Muni is thinking, my father is Brahma, he has 4 tongues, he can't glorify Krishna, His father is Anantasesha, he has thousands of tongues, he can't glorify. How stupid of my tongue, why are you feeling greedy like that he is feeling? And he is biting his tongue, stop glorifying. Anyway, you can't do it. This is what Narada Muni is feeling this way. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after dancing on Ratha Yatra, he comes to meet. As he dances, he recites a verse, meaning of which nobody could understand except Swarup Damodar. It's mentioned even the close devotees, they were confused. What does this verse signify? The verse was Srimati Radharani lamenting about how much she misses Krishna despite seeing Krishna right in front of her in Kurukshetra. She tells to her Saki, friend, that it's the same Krishna, I am the same personality, but I yearn to see it, yearn to be with that form of Krishna, Tribhangasham Krishna, who is playing his flute on the banks of Yamuna. I wish to be with him. So this is the purport of that verse. Nobody could understand. The day after Ratha Yatra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to meet Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami. In the morning, and Rupa Goswami has just gone to take bath in the Puri ocean. And as he was walking back, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, Haridas Thakur greets him, paying obeisances, and there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picks a leaf, a palm leaf, in which 2 verses are written. First verse is about the import of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lamentation the previous day, reciting the verse of Srimati Radharani. Explaining that, Srila Rupa Goswami writes a beautiful verse. And there is a next verse also, he writes in the palm leaf, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reads that first feedback of praise Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives to Rupa Goswami later is, my dear Rupa, your handwriting is like pearls, he says. Even looking at it, one will get Krishna Prema. Can you imagine handwriting? If somebody looks at our notebook. This is how powerfully he has written. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, how did you know my heart? He embraces him and he tells him, how did you know my heart? This is something even my personal associates don't know. And then Swarup Damodar says, my Lord, unless you give that special mercy, how can anyone understand what is actually happening in the confidential part of your heart? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comments, When I met these two brothers, I could immediately see how sincere they are, and I prayed to Krishna, like that he says, without revealing that he is Krishna. He says. So, next day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invites Rupa Goswami to the assembly of devotees, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, okay, now bring out the verses which you have written. Then he gives him the palm leaf scroll, and he gives it to Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar starts to read, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells to Swarup Damodar, who is a great Sanskrit Pandit, he tells him, please read this and share with us what you feel. First verse he reads, that is related to this verse, is that famous verse where Rupa Goswami says, Tunde Tandavaniratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdeye Karna Kroda Kadambini Katayate Karnadbudebhya Spriham Cheta Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Kritim Najane Janita Kedbir Amritai Krishneti Varnadvai. He says, I do not know how much nectar these two syllables, Krishneti Varnadvai. Dvai means two, Varna here refers to syllable. In the same context, you will come across in Bhagavatam also, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishna. So that Supreme Lord, he would come, he would recite these two syllables. That's what it means. Krishna Varnam means. Normally we talk about Varna in Varnashrama Dharma is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But here Varna, this refers to syllable. Krishneti Varnadvai. I do not know how much nectar these two syllables Krishna produce. Tunde Tandavaniratim Vitanute Tundavali Labde. When we chant these two syllables, Krishna, Tunde Tandavaniratim Vitanute Tundavali. Tunda means tongue. When we recite these two names, Krishna, the Supreme Lord Krishna himself comes and dances on our tongue, and we desire. When Krishna dances on our tongue, it gives us so much pleasure that we desire Tundavali, like Deepavali. Deepa is lamp, Deepavali is row of lamps. Tundavali means many, many tongue. That's what it means. So here, and likewise he says, when the holy name of Krishna enters our ears, we desire many, many years. Karna Arbuddha. Arbuddha means many millions. Karna Arbudebhya Spriham means we desire millions of years. That's what it means. And when the holy name enters into the courtyard of our heart, all the senses become inert. And our mind, consciousness gets drawn towards Krishna. So when Swarup Damodar recites this, it's mentioned, everyone goes to ecstasy as they were hearing this verse. And this is just the first introductory verse for Vidagdha Madhava. So Rupa Goswami, he wrote two books, Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. Originally, he wanted to write Krishna's pastimes on both Vrindavan, Mathura as well as Dwaraka as one single body of work. So he is conceiving like this. Okay, I'll write this. Before somebody puts everything to writing, they would think, right? You will conceive an idea, conceptualizes. So as he is planning like this, he was on his way to go to Puri to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he comes, takes rest in one village on his way to Puri. And in that village at night when he was sleeping, he sees somebody in dream, and they come, and the personality who he sees in dream, she tells him, no, you should write it separately, like that. And then he wakes up without realizing who is that. The next day he arrives in Puri. He sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He falls at his feet. He looks up at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also looks at him and he says, yeah, you have to write it separately, without even him saying anything. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals the personality who you saw in your dream is Satyabhama, very competitive. He says, so she says, you have to write Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan, separate book. And then Dwaraka, separate. So Krishna's Vrindavan pastime alone, he writes as Vidagdha Madhava. So this is the first one. And Krishna's pastime in other places, he writes as Lalita Madhava. So here, Narada Muni is saying, because his tongue is going to desire to keep on singing, and Narada Muni is also feeling, my father couldn't do, his father couldn't do, how greedy of my tongue to have attempted to glorify about Krishna. So thinking this way, he is seizing it, he is biting his tongue. Dear tongue, he then acknowledged, this effort of yours attests to your great fortune. As far as you are able, just go on speaking something about these beloved devotees of Krishna. So what is he instead instructing the tongue? You see, Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. Glorifying that is very difficult. So you better just be satisfied glorifying about devotees, because they are also human-like. That's possible. That's quite possible. So he is justifying why he is glorifying Pandavas this way. Sri Narada continued, O great saintly Pandavas, is anyone bold enough to let his tongue describe the unique love for Krishna that each of you has, or the special mercy he bestows upon you? Your mother Prita once heard from the mouth of Akrura a single statement by Krishna, sweet with affection and meant to console her. As soon as she heard it, she plunged into a swiftly flowing current of prema. She often lamented with poignant words that could shatter the heart of anyone who heard them. And she bore the burden of love for all of you, staying tied to you only because you are very dear to Lord Krishna. So here, Narada Muni is saying that your mother Prita, simply hearing about Krishna, just one statement from Akrura, she was lamenting that she is not in the association of Krishna. And the only reason why she is still holding on to her physical body is because of her love for all of you. Because if she leaves you, because right from childhood, like I think last week we were touching on the history of Pandavas. Pandavas, they were all born in the Himalayas. When Pandu, despite being a very valorous, successful king, his heart always yearned to be very close to nature, to follow a very simple lifestyle. So he gives the kingdom to Dhritarashtra, and then he goes to the forest with his two wives, Madri and Kunti Maharani. And the Pandavas, they are all born there in the forest. And even when they are young, they were playing with the forest animals. So the boys also liked it very much. Pandu was feeling also very happy, understanding that the dynasty of Kuru is in safe hands, looking at the valorous behavior of his own sons. But then Pandu dies, Madri dies. Pandu, when she dies, technically, Kunti Maharani, she has the right to enter into Sati, the fire. But Madri, at that time, she was feeling very guilty that somehow she also has been a cause for the death of Pandu. So when she cries, Kunti Maharani, she feels, actually it is my right to enter into the fire, but if I go in, then Madri would have to live with guilt for rest of her life. So when Madri was actually begging, please relieve me of this guilt, Kunti Maharani makes that sacrifice. She says like, all right, if you want to go, I will let go of my opportunity. And then Madri also thinks her two sons, Nakul and Sahadev, they are actually very close to Kunti Maharani than even her. Because she was very kind to all the five brothers. They were all together since when they were born. So right from the childhood, she has become the sole guardian, sole shelter, mother for all the five Pandavas. So here Narada Muni is saying, and she is a pure devotee. Anyone in that instance, if you see even srimadbhagavatam, there are instances where you will see kings, they take to Vanaprastha very soon. Even Priyavrata Maharaj, if you see, when Uttanapada, he was ruling, he gives up everything and he takes to the life of Brahmachari, goes to forest, takes instructions from Narada Muni, and he just goes to forest performing his bhajan there. And then later on upon the death, when Swayambhuva Manu was planning for his Vanaprastha, then he had to hand over the kingdom. At that time he had to go bring Priyavrata Maharaj from the forest back to the earthly. affairs, and then he hands him over. And then Priyavrata Maharaj becomes such a great king. He ruled for almost like 1.1 billion years. So you will see that history actually recorded in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Likewise, if you see, for example, even son of Prithu Maharaj, he is very disgusted with materialistic affairs. Even though he is a successful king himself, he hands it over to his son and he goes to forest very soon. Because I'm out of here, I'm going to spiritual world. He just goes to forest and he takes Vanaprasthi straight away. Kunti Maharani had every reason. She is a pure devotee of the Lord. She has every reason. But here he is saying, because of your relationship to Lord Krishna, Kunti Maharani, she found more meaning in taking care of you, in being with you. Otherwise, Kunti Maharani doesn't have much to do. In many instances, you will see, even Satyavati and Ambalika, after the Pandus, they come, or rather Pandavas, when they come back from the forest and they come back to Hastinapur, Satyavati, along with the mother of Pandu, they just take Vanaprasth and they just leave. And same tradition you will see, it's being followed later also, when Kunti Maharani one day, she would just leave without telling her sons, along with Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, to the forest. And then if you see even in the 1st canto, it's a very heart-rending section actually, where one day Yudhishthira Maharaj just gets up, he stops talking to everyone and he just walks out of his kingdom. None of the Pandavas talk to each other, each one just to follow him. It's given like that. And then along the way, they drop all their weapons in the holy river. Even Gandiva, Arjuna, he drops it, something which was with him throughout his life. He drops and they just go back to God like that. So all of these great kings, their wives, their mothers, they were all very clear in their purpose of life, because the culture itself is meant to go back to Godhead. They were very, very clear. Even all the kings, they spend the good 25% of their life in the forest, in Gurukula. And they're already accustomed to living in the forest. It's just next to 25% they come for family affairs, but then immediately they go back again. If you look at any ancient Vedic Vaishnava king, if they live for 100 years, 75% they live only in forest, only 25% in the kingdom. So it's not very difficult for them to let go of things. When the time comes, they just let go and they go to the forest straight away. So here, Narada Muni is saying Kunti Maharani's position is also like that. She is very renounced. In fact, she has brought them up in this world only in the forest. How much she would like to just go back to Himalayas or go back to the forest just taking Nirjan Bhajan. But Narada Muni here, he is saying the only reason why she was with you is because of your relationship with Krishna. Later on you will see, when Kunti Maharani glorifies Krishna, she says Vijayashaka. Vijaya is one of the names of Arjuna. So she wants to claim credit. Hey Krishna, you are related to me, you are my brother's son, and by the way, your pure devotee's mother is me, you know. Don't forget that also. Vijaya is Arjuna. In some place Krishna is also called Arjuna Saka. Okay, so he's saying, I'm his mother, so remember, you have to give me special favor in that line also. Krishna, the life of Yadus, tried for a long time to live for Dwaraka. So Krishna comes to Hastinapur. So this is one difference between Krishna Leela in Bhu Vrindavan versus Goloka Vrindavan. In Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna will be simultaneously everywhere. He will be as a small boy, he will be crawling in one place, he will be fighting one demon there, he is playing in Yamuna, he will do everything simultaneously. But in Bhu Vrindavan, material world, when Krishna comes and manifests, he will act as if he is present or limited by time and space, as if only. Which means 5,000 years ago, if you go to Dwaraka and if you hear the news Krishna is in Vrindavan, you have to go to Vrindavan to see Krishna. But if you go to Vrindavan and by the time you hear Krishna has already left for Mathura, you have to go back to Mathura to see. Okay, Krishna was present only in one place. So here, Krishna is the life of Yadus who were stationed in Dwaraka. But Krishna, he comes to Hastinapur to console them. Remember, when Narada Muni was coming, there was a team meeting going on, amongst the Pandavas. What was it? What situation can we create to get Krishna here back? This is what they were thinking. Like that, because Krishna comes here to Dwaraka, now all the to Hastinapur, all the residents of Dwaraka, now they are bereft of his association. Now they are thinking as if their life is lost. And then, because every time Krishna wants to go, suddenly one devotee will come and offer prayer. Kunti Maharani offers prayer. And then Krishna would say. And then when Krishna is again packing up all his bags and like leaving, again, Yudhishthira Maharaj will stop him. He says like, my lord, please stay for another 2 months. Krishna says, okay. So, Krishna was stalled in Hastinapur for a long, long time. And later on, Krishna finally, he goes to Dwaraka. You will see that description is also given. When he goes on the outskirts of Dwaraka, Krishna pulls out his Panchajanya and then he touches his lips. Krishna's lips is like bimba fruit. If you go to South India, you can see, especially in rainy season, bimba fruit, they just grow like weeds. He touches his Panchajanya, and because Panchajanya is pure white, it touches Krishna's lips, suddenly the pinkish hue starts to rub off on Panchajanya, Panchajanya turns pink, This is the description that's given, and Krishna blows. Then when everyone hears that sound, at the time, everyone come. Understanding, yes, Krishna is there. So if you read Tirupavai, famous song that's sung by Andal, they would usually sing that in the month of Margasisha in South India. So there, she says, when you hear the conch blowing in the temple, simply hearing the conch will actually drive away all the negativities within the heart and makes the heart ready to receive the blessings of the Lord, the presence of the Lord. She sings like that. So next time when, mind goes, they are there, I need to take darshan, go here, finish my rounds, I thought I will sing the kirtan. Why is that Mataji or that Prabhuji holding the mic? All of that mind will go and then go, stop, just stop, hear that. Everything will, all the negativities will get driven away from our heart and we'll be ready to accept the mercy of the Lord. So you will see Krishna, when he arrives, all the Dwarakavasis, they would feel that their life has actually come back to them. And by the way, the place where Rupa Goswami dreamt of Satyabhama, that place is currently known as Satyabhama Puri, after that pastime, because Satyabhama, she appears in the dream of Rupa Goswami to tell him. So that place is Satyabhama Puri. Krishna, the life of the others, tried for a long time to leave for Dwaraka, but by enveloping him with plaintive prayers, she kept him in her home. Krishna bestowed upon Yudhishthira the highest prestige greater than that of anyone else in the upper and lower worlds. Yudhishthira was the king of the entire Jambudvipa. Jambudvipa has 9 varshas. One of the varsha is Bharata Varsha. Bharata Varsha has 9 kandas. One of the kanda is our planet Earth, Bharata Kanda. Okay, so Yudhishthira Maharaj was not just king of the world, he was king of all the 9 kandas, he was king of all the 9 varshas also. The entire Jambudvipa was under his kingdom, under his rule. And by favors like allowing Bhima to kill Jarasandha, Krishna granted Bhima unequaled fame. Saintly Arjuna became renowned throughout the world for his intimate friendship with Krishna. I can never sing all the glories of Arjuna, even if I recite hundreds of Puranas. And as for Nakul and Sahadev, everyone has seen many times how fixed they are in the love for Krishna, especially their contribution towards Rajasuya sacrifice. At that time they glorify in public about the glories of Krishna, as shown, for example, by how these twins behaved in deliberation on whom to worship first in Rajasuya sacrifice. Lord Hari personally sanctified Sri Draupadi's hair during the Rajasuya sacrifice. So Krishna would sprinkle water, auspicious water, reciting mantras. We do that at the end of Homa, you will see. So in Vedic times, they would sprinkle water, blessing them. Krishna would personally do to Draupadi, spraying the sanctified waters of all the holy rivers, blessing her, addressing her, dear friend. It's given here. He would call Draupadi dear friend. He relieved her of her fear of Atri's son Durvasa and fear of others. When Durvasa, who goes first to Hastinapur, and there he was served by Duryodhana with wonderful feast, And then Duryodhana wanted, as usual, to cause some trouble to Pandavas. So he goes to Durvasa and he puts a plea. He says, oh great sage Durvasa, you are known to be the place of pilgrimage. Wherever you go, you carry the place of pilgrimage everywhere. So whatever kindness you have bestowed upon me, I beg, please bestow that upon my brother Yudhishthira as well. And by the way, he is in the forest, without any riches. You go there, he'll feed you something even more better. So he induces him that way. And Durvasa Muni also goes there. And then we know what happened. And there was no prasad there left. And then Krishna comes to Draupadi's aid. And then Durvasa, suddenly he feels, his belly full. And then rather than coming from this end of the river, he jumps to the other side and runs away, with all his 60,000 disciples it's given. So this is how Krishna has protected. Likewise, you will see, Krishna protected Pandavas against Lomasha Rishi also. Many instances. Krishna relished Sri Vidura's porridge and organized the celebration of Sri Bhishma's passing away. Please therefore judge your own standing from how in many controversies both Vidura and Bhishma took your side. Even though Vidura and Bhishma, technically they are the caretakers and guardians of the throne of Hastinapur, which at that point of time was ruled by Dhritarashtra and the rest of the Kauravas. Nevertheless, because both of them are devotees of the Supreme Lord, they were siding with the Pandavas, recognizing Pandavas are also very, very dear to Krishna. Truly, the words spoken by the ordinary women of your city amaze me. Those words focused on Krishna, imbued with transcendental knowledge and devotion, are praised in songs by accomplished poets. When Prahlada, the son of Kayadu, obtained the Supreme Lord's grace, he did so along with the grandson. Now he is saying something very unique about Pandavas. He says there are many pure devotees who have come, who are celebrated in the pages of the Puranas, and he starts with the Prahlad Maharaj. But Narada Muni says, but in almost all the cases, there will be one pure devotee, maximum for an entire lineage. Maybe one exception he says is Prahlad Maharaj, who managed to make his grandson as a pure devotee of the Lord. He says likewise Hanuman, if you see, Hanuman didn't have any descendants. He was a brahmachari. He was a pure devotee of the Lord. Just one here, one there. But here he is saying, look at Krishna's relationship with you. You have taken Krishna's special mercy whole scale for your entire family. Your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, your brothers, son, grandson, great-grandson, everyone is, the whole clan, they are pure devotees of the Lord. This is Krishna's special mercy on the Pandavas, he says. And if you read 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there, Narada Muni, once he visits Hastinapur, in fact, when he is visiting Hastinapur, meeting Yudhishthira Maharaj, it is in that setting Narada Muni starts to glorify about Prahlad Maharaj. So that's how the whole narration. What we see as narration of Prahlad Maharaj and Narsingadev in Srimad Bhagavatam is the conversation between Narada and Yudhishthira and Hastinapur. So that's the setting. Like Bhagavatam is conversation within conversation, like Panchatantra, story within story. So here Narada Muni is visiting Hastinapur, and in Hastinapur he is glorifying the devotion of Prahlad Maharaj and how he practiced bhakti in such a trying circumstance. So in that, at the end of the narration, Narada Muni feels, now Yudhishthira Maharaj in his natural humility, he is feeling, look at Prahlad Maharaj's devotion. Where do I stand? He feels like that. So to inspire Yudhishthira Maharaj, he glorifies. By the way, that same Lord is your maternal cousin. Like that he tells him. He is with you. You don't need to even visit different places of pilgrimage to associate with the sages. Why? Because all the sages are coming to your home. He's telling, he glorifies them like that. So here also he is saying, Prahlad, here also he is doing a comparison. Prahlad Maharaj was favored by the Supreme Lord. Hanumanji was favored by the Supreme Lord. Prahlad Maharaj's grandson was favored by the Supreme Lord. But never before did Supreme Lord favor so many people in one single family who are blood relations. So that's what he is saying here. Once in the court of the Kauravas with me and other sages present, Krishna said of you, listen to this. When I read this first time, this sounds like a movie dialogue. How many times everyone copies from Mahabharata? Krishna said of you, Krishna is telling of Pandavas, where in the assembly of Kauravas, Krishna is saying, a friend of the Pandavas is my friend and their enemy, my enemy. This is what Krishna is saying. The Pandavas are my very life heirs. Okay, the friend of the Pandavas are my friend and their enemy is my enemy. This is how Krishna is threatening the Kauravas. So you better be in the favor of Pandavas. The Pandavas are my very life heirs. Just see my arrogance. Only Krishna can adequately know and describe your good qualities. But at least I am convinced that the Supreme Lord has descended to this world only for the sake of you. Sri Parikshit said, for a moment, Dharmaraj Yudhishthira remained quiet. And now they'll start their turn now to glorify. And then he sighed as if embarrassed. At last he spoke, followed in turn by his brothers, wife and mother. So each one is going to refute Narada Muni's glorification. Yudhishthira said, oh crest jewel of brilliant speakers, Lord Hari has no mercy for us. We cannot remember any mercy he has shown us, even after we consider this for a long time. If ordinary materialists see the many calamities that have come upon us, their faith and their inclination to serve Krishna are likely to wither. Very true. Sometimes this question comes, why did Krishna put Pandavas through so much trials and tribulations? Fine, would you like to volunteer? If Krishna has done that to us, first day itself, what do you think we will do? Krishna, what did I do? Look what you are reciprocating. I am out of here. Krishna knows we have come to him after a long time. Krishna doesn't want to make it complicated, so he doesn't give us challenge. Whatever that comes to us, Prabhupada says, a devotee should understand we actually deserve so much more worse karmic reaction. Krishna has reduced it to such a tiny level and he is giving just a token punishment. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, if the calamities which we had faced, if any materialist would have faced, definitely they wouldn't have come to Krishna. We all agree, because we fall in that category of materialists. This would surely cause us great distress, for we have dedicated our life and breath only to him. We would suffer like embodied creatures without food or like fish deprived of water. Therefore, on the pretext of arranging a sacrifice, I begged him, dear master, please show how the fortunes of the devotees and the non-devotees differ. By this sacrifice, all people will see the wonderful assets that belong to your devotees in this life and the next. Opulences all pure and utterly distinct from material assets. Then again, absolute trust in you, people will worship your lotus feet, become ever free of misery and fear, and achieve happiness in all respects. It's explained in srimadbhagavatam in detail. Once Parikshit Maharaj asks this question to Shukadeva Goswami. He puts forth a seemingly contradicting situation. Parikshit Maharaj tells to Shukadeva Goswami, oh my dear master, Lord Krishna, he is the Lord of Vaikuntha, Lord of spiritual world. He is enjoying all the riches and opulences. Whereas his devotees, they are usually impoverished. On the other hand, Shiva and Parvati, they are very renounced. They don't even build a home for themselves. But their devotees are very rich in earthly opulences. How to understand this? Vishnu is rich, devotees are impoverished. Shiva is showing impoverished state. He is very, renounced in everything, but his devotees, they flaunt all the wealth. How to understand this? When Shukadeva Goswami hears this question, he tells him, it's a good question. It's the same question that's put forth by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Lord Krishna himself. Yudhishthira Maharaj says, my Lord, your devotees are actually not known to have so much wealth. It's not like they are not known to have. They are living, their wealth is in a different dimension altogether. Something which is totally inconceivable. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one devotee is worth more than all millions and trillions of the material creation put together. one dust of Vrajabhumi, it's more valuable than millions and trillions of Vaikuntha planets. He says like that. So here, Shukadeva Goswami says, the riches which Shiva's devotees get, or devotees of any demigods get, it's actually not a rich, it's actually not a blessing, rather it causes more bondage in this world. Remember? Pain, pleasure. And Prabhupada, he explains the riches which people, they go by in this material world. Prabhupada says a person in this world is considered very rich depending on how well they can exercise their genitals and how well they can satisfy their fastidious tongue. If you look at how somebody's material opulence is measured, okay, one house, two houses, how many houses can you actually count? Everyone knows, you cannot anyway live in so many houses. But everyone will think, look how nicely he is enjoying. If only I am rich, I can also enjoy. Or look how rich she is. If only I am also rich, I can also enjoy. Like that. So the material opulence is calculated based on how well one can enjoy. But what's the result of that? It just causes more bondage. So Shukadeva Goswami says, what is seen here as an enjoyment, it's actually not an enjoyment, but it is a suffering. It looks like enjoyment, but it is suffering. Because material pleasure means it lives in our mind only. It doesn't live in the material object itself. I'll give you an example. Imagine you are very upset someday and somebody brings your most favorite dish in front of you. Do you think you can really enjoy? No. Imagine you get chastised by your parents. And after getting chastised, you are very upset. And they say, okay, come to eat. Come to the dining table. You'll be like, no. What happened? It's the same tongue. It's the same food. Taste hasn't changed. But the mood to enjoy is gone. That's the proof that the enjoyment, material enjoyment, is in the mind only. It's not in the object per se. Now, converse is also true. If somebody's consciousness is so elevated, so fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, I do not know how much nectar these two syllables, Krishna, produce. When somebody's mood is like that, what would happen? Even so-called external disturbances will no longer come to haunt the person. In fact, they'll be immune to all of this and their only focus will be simply enjoying the mood of the service of the Lord. That's what Prahlad Maharaj also says to Narsinghadev. My Lord, simply by remembering all your pastimes and qualities, my consciousness is already gone past to the other side of Vaitarini. My consciousness is always in the spiritual world. Because of that, whatever so-called material trials and tribulations don't bother me. So if you want me to really get liberated, if you really want to favor me, please bless me with unflinching devotion to your lotus feet. Why? If my mind is fixed on your lotus feet, then whatever disturbances that happen in this world, I would become immune anyway. So rather than us going to Krishna and telling him, please solve me this problem, each one separately, if we simply ask for pure devotion, then our heart will be fixed, remembering Krishna, and by virtue of that, we can become immune to any problem that happens in this world. How immune? So immune that Kunti Maharani is asking, may the troubles come to me more and more. That's how immune we can get. So this is what Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying. Now, our non-devotee enemies have been destroyed, our kingdom returned to us, and our grief made greater than before. Listen to this carefully. Now our non-devotee enemies have been destroyed, which means this conversation is happening after Kurukshetra war. Our kingdom returned to us, which means he is the king of Hastinapur. And our grief made greater than ever before. Why is the grief made greater than ever before? Because all along, up to that point in their life, because they went through one trouble after the other, Krishna, being very dear to them, he always was by their side, even physically. And now, Krishna created a situation where all their enemies were wiped off, the kingdom was rightfully given back to them. The same kingdom that was usurped from them in the infamous gambling match. And then, now situation is very cozy. So now Krishna is going to leave their company. Because of that, they are saying their situation is, their grief is so much more greater. It is our fault that many saintly persons met their demise, including venerable teachers like Drona and Bhishma and sons like Abhimanyu. The company of those devotees of Sri Vishnu is more desirable to us than life itself. Deprived of that association, we can no longer find any happiness. We enjoy the pleasure of seeing Krishna's lotus face only once in a while. Why? Because the problem stopped, Krishna's association also stopped. Generally, that's the tendency. Normally, we come to temple, we pray to the Lord, we think about the Lord only at the time of trouble. But that's not the best situation to be in. If we think about what is most auspicious is to be always remembering Krishna, thinking about Krishna. So, if we want to think about Krishna 24/7, we don't need to be in a troublesome situation. We can think about Krishna all the time. Otherwise, if we have this attitude of, okay, when the trouble comes, then I'll think about Krishna, other times I won't, then only the troublesome situation will be auspicious. Normal situation will be inauspicious. And guess what? Initially we come to Krishna during the time of trouble and we pray to Krishna, Krishna, please solve my trouble. Krishna solves the trouble and then we forget Krishna. Krishna wants to see you, so he creates trouble to you again. Now what do you think? You blame Krishna, you know. No, we should not forget Krishna. We should always be thinking of Krishna, because one way or the other, even the troubles are actually good for us to come to Krishna. It's auspicious. What is auspicious? Whatever that may even be externally challenging, if internally it's helping us to take shelter of Krishna, it's auspicious. On the other hand, if a material situation is causing us to forget Krishna, it's inauspicious, even though materially it may look very successful. The company of those devotees of Sri Vishnu is more desirable to us than life itself. Deprived of that association, we can no longer find any happiness. We enjoy the pleasure of seeing Sri Krishna's lotus face only once in a while. Why? There's very few troubles only that's happening. That's why. When after long times absent, he visits us on some business. The Yadavas alone are his true friends. Now they are turning their attention towards Yadavas. Why? Krishna came here on business to help us. He has solved the problem. Now he has gone back to his home, which is to Dwaraka. Living always with them in Dwaraka, he is always busy satisfying those dear and supremely fortunate friends. From time to time, you have observed him carrying messages, driving chariots, and doing other services for us. But he does these things only to absolve himself of his debts to us, destroy our sins, and protect our religious principles. Sri Parikshit, Krishna, whenever he greets Pandavas, he would go to touch Yudhishthir Maharaj's feet, because Yudhishthir Maharaj is senior to him. And then to Bhima he'll show respect, with Arjuna he'll show respect and he'll embrace him. Nakul and Sahadev would touch Krishna's feet. This is the etiquette Krishna, Yadyad Acharati Shreshtas. Krishna teaches how to respect elders, how to deal with the devotees. So this is how. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is saying, so whatever favor, even when Krishna may be driving, this is simply to establish religious principles, to teach general moral etiquette for this world. Sri Parikshit continued, then Bhima, the bosom friend of the Lord of the Yadavas, laughed loudly and said, now Bhima is taking his turn, please listen, my dear disciple of Sri Krishna. Krishna is the original source of illusion, the guru of all clever deceivers. This one doesn't sound like glorification, but anyway, this is how Bhima is saying. His acts are fathomless, like an ocean. We have little faith in the many crafty things he says and does. Doesn't he have all sort of motives? I think gopis also glorify him like this. Sri Parikshit said, then, dear mother, my grandfather Sriman Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna, dejectedly spoke, sighing again and again. Blessed Arjuna said, O godly Narada, the great mercy your beloved Lord supposedly bestowed upon us has in fact become the cause of our sorrow. Swayed by dry speculation, concerned only with their own dharma, Bhishma and others on the field of war fiercely attacked Lord Krishna, piercing his armor and flesh. Lord Krishna, the wielder of the Sudarshana Chakra, tolerated for my sake those repeated attacks on his divine body, although I tried to stop him. Even today, O Brahmana, as I remember those incidents, I cannot remove the arrow of grief from my heart. How then can I feel any happiness? So Arjuna here, he is saying he is feeling much guilt. Why? First of all, Krishna was driving his chariot. Arjuna, when he was driving, Arjuna had to kick on Krishna to give him direction, because Arjuna is also fighting. He would kick right shoulder of Krishna. Krishna has to turn right. Left means he'll kick here. To go straight means he would kick directly on the spine, central spine. This is how Arjuna had to do. And what does Krishna had to do? Krishna, because he is driving the horses, usually when the battle is happening between two charioteers, let's say two Atirathas, they would, in addition to attacking the warrior in question who is in the opposing side, they would also attack the chariot, attack the chariot driver, attack the horses also. And because of Krishna taking the role of a chariot driver, Krishna had to endure all of that. Bhishma rather, he was shooting, and all the other Kaurava kings, they were shooting arrows which were meant for Arjuna, but then Krishna had to take so much pain. So here Arjuna is saying he couldn't get rid of this arrow of grief from his heart. Acts that bring pain to dear one are not a sign of compassion or love. When I refused to kill Bhishma, Drona and others, Krishna, the best of wise scholars, taught me something to induce me to go ahead and kill them. Hearing only the literal meaning of what Krishna taught may please dry scholars, but to us whose life and soul lies in glorifying pure devotional service, those instructions by the Lord give great pain. Even carefully studying the purport of those instructions has not made me any happier. Rather, his words only make me remember how he deceived me. No one is dearer to me than the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, with his all-enchanting beautiful form. He has given himself to me who have complete faith in him. He is the reservoir of pure unconditional mercy, the upholder of his world, the best of well-wishing friends, the omnipotent Lord of all. Sri Nakul and Sahadev said, yes, Sri Krishna gave us steadfastness in the face of many dangers. He arranged for the doom of all of our enemies and for our success in the Ashwamedha and other sacrifices. He expanded our fame, kingdom and pious credits, which others could hardly hope to attain. But, O godly Narada, we do not deem this evidence of his mercy. Rather, he gave us his real mercy when in the festival of many great sacrifices he had arranged, he delighted us by accepting the first worship. Agra Puja, which is given at the beginning of Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna accepted the worship. So, when we read these refutations by the devotees, we should not take it that they are dissatisfied in bhakti. They are gauging their mercy based on a different scale compared to neophyte devotees like us. If Krishna makes us rich, we feel, Krishna, thank you. This is our capacity. If Krishna gives us some job, some home, some devotee glorifying us, we feel Krishna is favoring us. Now this may satisfy, that's what Arjuna is saying, this may satisfy those who are reading Krishna's instructions superficially. Because pure devotees understand their real wealth is just association of Krishna, service of Krishna. So Nakul and Sahadev is saying, what Krishna has given us, all this wealth, kingdom, riches, everything, none of these are actually evidence of his mercy. Real mercy was when he accepted the first worship in Rajasuya sacrifice. Now he has cheated us by going away. Krishna gets bad name everywhere. Gopis also, we have given everything, they cheated us. Dwaraka, they also say, here also they are saying, now he has cheated us by going away. So how can we continue to live? Before, O Brahmana, at least we had the sight of him, so difficult to obtain. Sri Parikshit said, hearing the words of the Pandavas, Draupadi was overwhelmed with sorrow. Calming herself with great effort, she spoke, crying in a choked voice. Sri Krishna said, now this Sri Krishna means Draupadi. Draupadi's one other name is Krishna. Sri Krishna said, so many times my intimate friend, Sri Krishna, saved me from shame. And so many times he killed wicked rascals like the Kauravas. I thought he would always show us mercy, but now my father, brother and sons have all fallen in battle. Nonetheless, I don't lament, for by nature I accept whatever he may desire. So Draupadi's father, brother, everyone died. But I had hoped that on one pretext or another, he would arrange for my desires to be fulfilled. Draupadi's father is Drupada, brother Shikandi. And sons also, all the 5 sons got killed unfairly in the dead of night by Ashwatthama. Nonetheless, I don't lament, for by nature I accept whatever he may desire, but I had hoped that on one pretext or another, he would arrange for my desires to be fulfilled. After my family members were killed, Sri Krishna personally sat here at my side and expertly consoled me with persuasive arguments. I always drink the immortal nectar of those charming words, so pleasing to the mind, and the smiles that went with them. Even so, it is my misfortune that he no longer comes here. So how, dear sage, can I think he has shown me any mercy? We'll continue next week. So in this way, Draupadi speaks, and then Kunti Maharani, and then Narada Muni would then go to Dwaraka, Uddhava, and finally Gopis in Gupta Vrindavana in Dwaraka. Any questions or comments? Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath's devotees ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.